Hello, my name is Brian Doty. I work in the, I'm a product manager in the server management group. I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm going to say that a few times during this presentation to make it a little easier for us to make videos later. But today I'm going to talk a lot about management. Unfortunately, I can't hit on everything that I'd like to hit on, so we picked a few select choice pieces to talk about today. So if you have any questions or anything else you'd like to see, just let me know. Throw a piece of paper at me, whatever. Now I heard that you guys weren't that interested in Vertex, so I might do that demo last, unless you really want me to cover it. Maybe I'll bump it up a little bit. Let me go ahead and talk a little bit about OpenManage, the portfolio. Inside the OpenManage portfolio, there's several different products. One thing that I wanted to point out is that at Dell, we abhor creating products to solve challenges that don't exist. We are fanatical, if not obsessed, about understanding customer challenges and building products to solve those challenges. To that end, we've actually built quite a few products in the OpenManage portfolio. I talked to a customer last week who they had literally zero interest in any kind of console from Dell to do one-to-many management. Instead, they were very much interested in talking directly to our iDRAC with Lifecycle Controller to completely automate not only thousands, but tens of thousands of systems. So for those customers, we actually have an automation engine built for them, right? I had another customer who said, I don't want to do any of that. I don't want to talk APIs. I don't want to know anything about Redfish or WSMan. I just want a simple way, a simple portal to log into to manage thousands of systems. For those customers, we have OpenManage Essentials. So we've actually divided this up into a few different categories to make this a little easier to understand. We have our consoles for server management. I mentioned OpenManage Essentials, but also OpenManage Power Center for customers who have large data centers. They want to understand how much power usage they have or potentially cap them when they have peak usage to lower costs. We also know that customers want to maintain their existing investments. I would love everyone to use OpenManage Essentials to manage their Dell and non-Dell servers. However, I understand that a lot of customers want to use Microsoft System Center, or they want to use BMC BladeLogic, something like that. And for those customers, we build integrations. You can see a few of them that we support over here as well. We also offer converged management, which I mentioned I'm going to talk about a little bit later with our Vertex, managing not only servers, but storage and networking as well. We also offer a number of tools and utilities. These are designed to help customers with specific needs. Although Dell makes it very, very easy for customers to update, and by the way, if you go to Dell.com to go get updates for your Dell servers, for example, you don't have to log in, you don't have to provide your service tag, you don't have to be under a service contract like many of our competitors, you simply go and download them. We provide a lot of tools for customers to aid them in getting the updates that they need. Repository Manager is a good example of a tool that a customer can download, and they can build a repository that looks at the inventory of their environment and make sure they get what they need. Finally, we also offer a number of support services. A lot of exciting things happening in this space with our integrations to Dell Support Assist to allow customers to have their servers automatically contact Dell when they have a problem and register trouble tickets so that the customer can get a call and not have to worry about running any kind of tools to gather information about their servers and that sort of thing. So it's a very complete portfolio. And again, as I mentioned, at Dell, we don't believe that one tool can solve all challenges. We strive to offer customers a single pane of glass, but we understand that's not going to work for all. Powering this entire portfolio is a product that we've embedded inside the server. I know there's some discussion earlier today about where is the intelligence? Is it in the software or is it in the hardware? I'd like to say it's in both, right? The iDRAC Lifecycle Controller is embedded on all of our servers, and it's actually running a Linux stack underneath. So it's in a lot of open source software, and we put some Dell secret sauce on there to make it, powerful. Go back just one real quick, no problem. So the iDRAC with Lifecycle Controller is what I'm talking about. And in the past, back years and years ago, I've been at Dell for about 16 years now, so I've seen this thing evolve dramatically. In the original, early days, iDRAC was very simple. Its goal was to offer remote access. So I'm an IT administrator who's working from home, and something's happened with one of my servers. I need to log into it, right? Well, iDRAC was a remote conduit. It gave me keyboard, video, mouse, to the server so that I could do remote management. Well, we've evolved that, and that's where in came Lifecycle Controller. The Lifecycle Controller came around the 11th generation servers, so iDRAC 6 timeframe. Just to give you a frame of reference, we're on iDRAC 8 now, planning our iDRAC 9 in the future. something dramatic happened. Dell realized that customers didn't just want to use the iDRAC to do remote access. They wanted to do more of the entire lifecycle of the server, monitoring, maintenance, deployment, and update. So over the last few generations, we've evolved iDRAC to take on those new responsibilities. We were actually the industry's first truly agent-free server lifecycle management solution. So we're the first to enable customers to disregard their agentry. So no need to install an agentry into the operating system or a VIB into ESXi. No one really wants to do that anymore. They want to be able to act like this is just an appliance from a management perspective. Well, we expanded it quite a bit. So not only did we do agent-free for just monitoring, we did this across the entire lifecycle. So we enabled customers to do monitoring completely out of band, not just monitoring from an IPMI perspective. For those of you who know IPMI, it's a very low-level, kind of monitoring solution. But we're capable of monitoring storage, virtual disks, network devices. The DRAC can tell you if somebody's tripped over a cable and unplugged it from the back of the server. Pretty impressive capabilities. We also added more deployment, update, and maintenance features. So a good example is bare metal deployment. If an iDRAC reaches the network, it can actually notify a console that it has arrived, and that console could already have pre-deployed configuration scripts for that particular device.
Did you say that this is good for any model of server, or is this proprietary to Dell equipment?
It's proprietary to Dell, but we offer it on virtually every Dell server that we ship now. Also, this is integral to, as I mentioned before, the Dell OpenManage portfolio in every way. So a lot of the capabilities that we offer inside the iDRAC are the same capabilities we use in our products themselves. So the APIs that we offer customers are the same ones that we use to empower our integrations and our OpenManage console. So there's a few features I kind of want to highlight. So what does this really mean to a customer? This sounds nice, but what does it mean? Well, here's three features, and these are just three of many, that I think really offer a lot of value to customers. So I mentioned that the iDRAC can announce itself on the network when it shows up. So someone purchases a server, they rack and stack it, maybe it's at a colo site. Once that DRAC gets power and has network connectivity, it can actually announce itself to a console. Well, what if I'm a customer who doesn't use a Dell console, right? What if I don't care about OpenManage Essentials, and I'm that customer I talked about earlier who has tens of thousands of servers, and I don't want to manage them with a console at all? That's no problem. All the customer has to do is have a DHCP server that tells that server where its configuration script is located. So I only need two network resources, a DHCP server, which I can use for initial deployment only if I want to, and then later set it to static, and a repository where an image file for that particular server will be stored. The great thing about this is I can create an image file for this R630 right here, call it r630.xml, put it on the share, and now when thousands of servers come online for the first time, the DHCP server tells them where that config file is, and the server is completely configured top to bottom automatically.
So
right?
when you say configured with what?
Well, this is the hardware configuration. So this would be the BIOS settings, the iDRAC settings themselves, NIC settings, RAID settings, virtually anything below the operating system itself. And then if I wanted to, I could even use the iDRAC to deploy the OS as another script if I wanted to. Most of the customers using this kind of feature will use a PXE boot or a remote boot of some kind. DRAC can help with that, but it doesn't have to, right? But one of the last settings in that config file could be to say, okay, now we're done configuring. On the next boot to PXE or boot to this location.
So you can define it as like a one-time boot policy and stuff like that.
Yep. And then now I never have to reconfigure the system.
And then when it's done, it'll automatically, if you set it to one time, the next boot will just boot from
exactly
internal media or whatever. Okay.
Right.
Now, how does that play into like auto deploy? I mean,
oh, you mean the auto discover feature, or?
I'm thinking like auto deploy from VMware or anything like that.
Oh, okay. Well, we have integrations with VMware.
Okay.
This wouldn't but underneath the hood, it's probably using the same APIs to enable this, but it's not automatic in that particular case.
I was thinking from the boot. But
yeah. A couple other features I want to be cognizant of time. Yes.
Sorry, I know you're careful.
No problem.
So what happens if I want to change the personality for this server after I've booted it and it's been running on something else? Can I effectively say, here's the new config, this is what you're now going to boot off, shut down, reboot, come back up and use a different config, and then PXE boot it into something else?
Absolutely. All you need to know is three things. The IP, well, really two. The IP address of that DRAC, the corresponding DRAC, and then also username and password. And I can do everything.
And what version backwards does it go back to that you support it?
Oh,
I'm just thinking of all of my.
Oh, this particular feature?
I'm just thinking of all of the servers
Our 12th
I have
generation
that I need
servers.
to go back and
Yeah.
change and make.
Our 12th generation servers introduced this feature.
Okay.
And our 13th generation of Carrot maintained it, so it'll be the same going forward. With this particular feature, we didn't think it would be necessary. We backport a lot of features to earlier DRACs to offer that continuity of management that you're interested in. But for a new deployment, we figured this is for new servers, no need to backport it all the way to 11th generation. So, a couple other features we have. I won't go into this too detailed because we're a little short on time. Automated updates. What I talked about from a zero-touch deployment perspective, I can also do with updates. I can simply take updates from Dell.com or have the DRACs point at Dell directly. And whenever I change that repository, if I ever say there's a new BIOS, I'm going to plop it into this repository, DRAC will know it and then update itself. It doesn't automatically reboot until the customer wants to. But this is a very, very easy way to update tens of thousands of systems very quickly if you want to. And then finally, we have automated support. Really soon, we already have the ability to export a health file of the system that can basically consists of the history of its logs, its health history, its health status, all those things, and actually embed them on the server so the customer can export them. In the future, we're going to actually have support assist integration so that iDRAC can actually connect directly to Dell and send its health state to Dell so that customers or Dell support can actually call the customer whenever there's a problem. So we might actually, Dell might actually know when there's a server failure before the customer does in the customer environment.
But right now, that support's not there.
Not there yet. It will be soon.
For the
Today they can export a file and send it to Dell, but that sending process will be automated. That's true. We already have the capability. If a customer uses OpenManage Essentials, which is our one-to-many console, we already have this capability. This isn't a case where a customer maybe have like 4 or 5 servers in their environment and they don't want to install a console, then that capability will come very soon.
Are you looking to kind of integrate the supply chain through to the customer so I don't have to worry about the physical hardware stuff anymore because the software magically handles it and then Dell comes in and fixes stuff and I can get on with doing stuff that's way more interesting?
Yes. But customers tell me all the time. We do lots and lots of research, and customers. One thing I've learned is that there's a lot of buzzwords thrown around out in the industry, and I try to level set myself every so often by talking to customers and finding out how just unsophisticated some of them are. It's not that they don't want to be sophisticated, but they have all these other challenges, and they don't have time to invest in all these things involving server management, that sort of thing. So the more that we can automate for a customer, the better. Back in 2011, I did a survey, and customers said, yeah, I like automation, but I don't really trust it. I want to have control over it. I did a recent survey this last year, and they said, I need automation. I don't have time and resources. I don't want to have to worry about the hardware management. So the more we can offload to Dell, the better. Well,
and another thing is that just in terms of getting budget to do a project where it's like, oh, we want to automate firmware management and upgrades and stuff, and oh, I'm already asleep. So you don't get great kudos from running a project that does this kind of stuff internally with a company. Whereas if I go and help marketing put in a brand new, market research automation buzzword cloud thing, that's awesome and great, and I get promoted.
That's right.
But this stuff is really important. It's
It is.
important, but it's boring. So it's great to have some tools like this that.
Well, with firmware updates, I'm glad you brought this up because nobody has this story of like, oh my gosh, I updated the system. It was so easy. I always hear stories saying, I remember this one time where I updated the system and it crashed, and a lot of times when we talk to customers, they don't know we're Dell. We want to get really, unbiased feedback, and we'll hear this a lot of times from various vendors that this happened and it was horrible, and so we want to avoid that. We want to, streamline that process so that it's really just a click of the button. The customer doesn't have to go handle update files. They don't have to comb the website. There's just a package. Dell said this all tested together works. Take this package, have the software automate it, drop it on the server, say this, have it update in the background so that, and then just do a reboot. So your downtime is almost nothing, right? So that's what we've really attained to some degree with our OpenManage Essentials, and we're going to continue to expand that capability.
Yeah, you do need to build a lot of trust with customers to do that, though, because for the same reason, that's one reason why people say, I want the control because I need the trust.
Right.
So don't ship private keys again.
This is exactly why that we built integrations of VMware vCenter to allow customers to put that server into maintenance mode, so that everything migrates away and they can do updates, even though they may not need to. But it's it gives them that assurance.
So with the automated updates, is there a level of control where I can say, do this server, don't do that server?
Absolutely. Okay. The DRAC is really the automation engine, if you will, that enables this. So if a customer sets it up on this server, And you can set it up on server A and not on server B.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, because it's great that you guys tested things, but I still need to test too, so.
Yes, actually, we have customers. I have one customer who has a 1,000 server test bed, and they don't do anything in their production environment until they've fully vetted it in that 1,000 environment. They actually use that automated update feature as well. So if these themes didn't come across already, here they are. The themes for OpenManage are to simplify and automate the repetitive tasks, as we were talking about just now. Unify the interface where needed. Again, our goal here isn't to say, oh, here's a single pane of glass that solves all of your problems. We know that doesn't exist, right? We know that certain customers have, one set of needs, another customer has a different set of needs. And then finally, deliver open standards. Has anybody here heard of Redfish? It's a new emerging standard, one of you. Dell helped found that standard. We worked directly with HP and Emerson to develop a standard called Redfish to enable simple, effective one-to-many management in a standard way. Okay, let's move on. Here's where I get to introduce myself again.
Can I just, before you do that, as part of that last bit, can I ask one last question on that?
Of course.
So how many customers actually would build configs that allow them to say, this server is going to be a storage server, this server is going to run this platform, this is going to run Hyper-V, this is going to run ESX, and then say, I've got 500 in the data center that I've just racked, and I just need to pick 3, push it out to those servers, and that's what they'll build. Are people going to that level of automation with it?
A vast majority of customers will probably have a set of key criteria they care about and deploy them across all of their servers. But there's also this other side. In fact, one customer I've talked to wanted control over the fan algorithms that iDRAC was running to control the fans more like what they want, right? They wanted highest performance. So you'd be surprised how much customization some customers want, how they want to tweak
you're saying
very
it's more,
minute
but
things.
you're saying it's more a generic, I want to change the settings on a lot of servers rather than I want to have, and I asked this question obviously to save Larry asking it because he should have asked it, but to automate the build to say, I need to flash a server that runs this operating system, this environment, and here's the config file that does the whole thing. So just pick one out the pool, configure it, flash it, job done. Are customers doing that or not?
I think, with OpenManage Essentials, we have templates built in, and some of the templates are optimized for like highest performance, or this is a database server, and they're optimized for those particular cases.
Okay.
I don't think a lot of customers go to that level.
Right.
I think it's starting to happen more and more, right? Okay. Because I think customers are realizing that, tweaking certain memory settings or adjusting the hyper-threading, settings will make better for one workload and not another. One of the feature or the products we actually have is called ASM, Active Server Management, and it does a lot with deploying workload-centric templates. So I can't say I've done any surveys that say how many of you care about a prescribed template for a particular workload, but
okay.
I would say a minority of customers care about individual BIOS settings and individual NIC settings and all that kind of stuff to really optimize for a particular workload.
Okay, so I was asking the question because I think if we look at the idea of what hyperscale might be, we're still very much treating our servers like pets. We're not treating them like cattle. We're not racking 50 servers at a time and saying I can use any of those because they're all a similar spec. I'll just flash it with that requirement today and off I'll go. We're still treating them very much like pets, is what you're saying.
Micromanaging them, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we go back to that zero touch feature. The one where the iDRAC would actually go out on the wire and go grab a config file. That's designed for cattle, right? You don't want to have one for every. You could do one for every service tag, right? Yeah. But you don't. That would be insane, right? You'd want one set of servers. This is, I'm racking, stacking thousands of servers that are all configured the same way, right? That's exactly what the automation feature is built for. And that's one of the reasons why a console is not for everyone. A lot of the scale-out customers we talk to say, keep your console, just give me your APIs. And that's one of the reasons we developed the world's most powerful API. So Dell has an API called WSMan, Web Services Management. It's not something for the faint of heart by any means, but it's very, very powerful, and it automates that entire life cycle. So customers can do what they want, right? But a lot of times, an IT administrator will care about one thing or two things or 10 things, and they care about it on all their servers. They may want to turn off this feature or turn off security, right? They just want easy access or whatever, right? It might be. But those config files that we offer, they're XML-based config files, can tweak all of those settings to their heart's content.
See, that's where I was trying to go with auto deploy.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's why I was asking the question. Because
being able to
Right.
provision, throw a bunch of servers out, provision them up with your, and if you had the capabilities to automatically tie into like auto deploy or something like that, or
Yeah.
that,
Right.
and be able to do the whole stack and may not have to do it for one time and
Right.
script it out and be done.
Exactly. Yeah.